Thanks for being here. Creative Mornings in the house, worldwide, global, so many countries represented, cities all over the world. I'm so excited to be here with all of you. Please mute yourselves. But before we kind of go into the content, I really kind of want to give you all a chance to get to know each other, to share. So what I'm going to do is throw you into breakout rooms with one other person. And what I'd like you to share is why you came today, like why you're here. If you have a book you're writing, what is that book and why you're writing it, or why you might want to write it, or why you're thinking about writing a book, or if you're already writing a book, what that book is about and why you're writing it. So I'm going to throw you into breakout groups. You'll have 2 minutes to share each, so 4 minutes total, and then we'll come back all together. All right. And if you have any questions, you can just hit me up on the chat, but I'll put the questions also in the breakout room. All right. So we're going to go into breakout rooms now. 4 minutes, 2 minutes each to share. I will see you in a few minutes. Hi, folks. Welcome back. For those of you that were in the breakout room, sorry if it was a little confusing. We had folks getting added to the Zoom late, so it kind of made the breakout rooms a little messy, but I hope you got to at least connect with someone, hear why they showed up today. Folks in the chat that came late were talking about writing cookbooks, DIY art books, a YA fantasy novel, mindful yoga book, one game changer to boost your business. A book about someone was writing a book with her mom who's also on the call, which I think is awesome. But first of all, I just want to thank you all for being here today. I know all of us are busy. It's been an incredibly stressful, exhausting couple of weeks / months / year. So thank you for showing up today. Thank you for making time for your story and your creativity. I think one of the biggest things in writing and all art really is just showing up. So thank you for showing up today. Thank you for taking time to be here. I want to kind of, I'm going to share some advice today, some of my story and what inspires me when it comes to writing. And we'll have time at the end for some questions. I'm going to send out a bunch of resources and giving you some kind of tools for really getting to the next level with your project, whatever stage it's in. So I'm going to share some slides here. And I'll share the slides. I'll make sure Mafe emails these out after today. So if you don't want to pay, if you don't have to take too many notes or whatever, we'll make sure that these get out, and I'll share a bunch of links afterwards as well. But I'll start with my story of kind of how I became an author. Like many people that have ever got into something entrepreneurial or creative or started their own business, it started out of a period of feeling super lost. Anyone out there ever been in a job that they really hated? You could like raise your hand in the Zoom or give me like a little bit of a yes. This is kind of how my creative journey started. I was stuck working and living in Washington, DC, working a job that for the US government that on paper was perfect. I had a great job. I had a very good salary. I had healthcare. I had benefits, job security. You cannot get fired from working for the United States federal government. Trust me. And I go to happy hour and tell everyone my job title. And everyone was so impressed with this job, except for me. I felt like I was very miserable and I was unhappy and I didn't really want to be there. And how did I know I was unhappy? I felt this shooting pain go up and down in my back every morning when I woke up at 6 in the morning. I felt it when I got out of bed, when I brushed my teeth, when I took the bus to work, when I scanned my ID badge in at the office, when I rode the elevator up to the 8th floor. The pain was so bad it actually turned into shingles on my side. Shingles is gross. Shingles is a nerve disease related to stress, common among people over the age of 70, not 20 somethings. And I was spending a lot of time in this period, like many millennials or people of all ages, frankly, on Facebook and Instagram, overdosing on FOMO, fear of missing out, worried about what my friends were doing. So a friend was going to business school and I was like, yeah, I should get my MBA. A friend was becoming a teacher. I should become a teacher. A friend was opening her own food truck and I was like, yeah, I should open up a food truck. I'm not a great chef and I'm an even worse driver, like the world's worst driver. Don't ever get in a car with me. Really bad idea. And I saw a photo of a buddy of mine. He'd already graduated from one of the top law schools in the country, got this amazing job at a corporate law firm, was making well over 6 figures. And he's traveling with his girlfriend in Peru, and he's proposing at sunset in front of Machu Picchu. And I'm like, man, like this guy's got it all figured out. He's making all this money. He's got this amazing job. Like, I hate my life. I hate my job. Like, I can't even get a date on Tinder. My life is ruined. Honor, never gonna make it. And it was actually only when I got off Facebook and met other young people going through the exact same thing I was, that I turned this quarter life crisis that I was going through into a breakthrough, into an opportunity to find meaningful work, to find a creative breakthrough, to find out what I really wanted to do with my life. So the first lesson I learned really on my journey that's super important, I think, and is why we're all here today, is to find believers. Surround yourself with people that believe in the beauty of your dreams. So if you tell someone you want to write a book and they're like, yeah, you said that 2 weeks ago, you're never going to do it, like find somebody else to spend time with, right? If you tell someone you want to quit your job and do something else and they roll their eyes and they say, you said that 2 months ago, see you at happy hour, here's a beer, you're never going to do it, find new friends, find somebody else to spend time with, right? Because I went to this program called Starting Block, and I think there are a few people on this call that went on the Zoom that actually went to Starting Block, the Starting Block Institute for Social Innovation. It brings together people that are interested in using business for social good, that are interested in social entrepreneurship and social innovation and want to change the world. And at Starting Block, I met believers. I met people like Debbie Sterling. She had started a company called Goldie Blocks, which is a toy company that teaches young girls to become engineers. She realized that all of the toys out there that teach engineering skills were designed for the way boys learn, right? Like Legos and Thomas the Tank Engine and Bob the Builder. And all of the toys for young girls were Barbie dolls and the pink aisle. And she's like, I'm gonna make a toy to teach young girls engineering skills. I met people like Ted. He was starting a nonprofit that teaches financial literacy and entrepreneurship to youth in Chicago. I met people like Tom. He had started Rising Tide Car Wash, a small business in Florida that employs people with autism. So I met all these people and they were like, Smiley, wait a second. Like, you want to move across the country to California? You want to live in the Bay Area? You want to become a writer? You want to start supporting young people going after their dreams? Like, you have to do that. If you don't do that, who the hell's going to do it? A crazy thing happens when you find believers. You also find accountability, right? Normally you tell someone you're going to write a book and they're like, yeah, whatever, you're never going to do it. But when I told my friend Evan at this program that I was going to leave my job in DC, move across the country to San Francisco, build a new life, maybe become a writer one day, he asked me one simple question. When are you going to have the talk with your boss? And this guy texted me every single week after that program. Have you had the talk with your boss yet? Have you had the talk with your boss yet? Have you had the talk with your boss yet? I'd be in meetings with senior officials at the White House getting calls and texts from Evan. But the only reason that I'm here today talking to all of you, and the only reason that I'm now on my 4th book, is because people like Evan held me accountable. When you find believers, you find accountability. Next lesson. This shit takes time. Keep going, right? I think it's easy for people to assume, we see everyone's accomplishments on Facebook, on Instagram, Twitter, whatever, and people are getting a new job, or they write a book, or they come out with a play, or they have a creative accomplishment, and we see the highlight, right? Like, oh my God, I won this award, or like, check out my published book. But what we don't see is all the work behind it, the months, the years. And so a lot of people, that are, trying to get you to buy their product or whatever, are going to be like, 6 steps to success, 6 steps to a published book. It's going to happen in a night. You can do it in a weekend. You can do it in a month. And that's just not how I roll. I like to be really honest about, the journey and the work that goes into it. So that Starting Block where I decided I was going to change my life was in 2012, right? It's 2020 right now. So it's taken me a long time. So I just want to give a shout out to anyone out there that's still working on this. It's ongoing. It's a journey, right? It's an ongoing thing. So I started this blog in 2012 about my experience, about being stuck, about millennials and the search for meaningful work. A lot of people were like, hey, your blog is great. I love your writing. I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to get a book deal. People love my writing. So I tried to talk to an editor at Chronicle Books, which is an independent publisher in San Francisco, amazing publisher for those that know it. They do a lot of cookbooks and really beautiful books. So I got this meeting with this editor at Chronicle Books, right? And I was like, oh my God, this is my big break. I put on a blazer. I went downtown. Their office is in Soma. I'm like all excited. And you know what she tells me at the meeting? You're not ready to get a book deal. I'm sorry, you're not ready to get a book deal. And I was devastated. I was like, oh my God, this is my shot, like my one shot, you know, like Lin-Manuel Miranda says, like, you know, Hamilton, I'm not going to give up my one, this is my shot, my one shot. Not going to give up my shot. I was like, this is over. And you know what she told me? She's like, you're not ready to get a book deal. You don't have a platform yet. You should self-publish. You know, that night I went home and I had a drink and I was really depressed. But the truth was, she was 100% correct. I wasn't ready, right? So what did I do? I actually listened to her advice, and I that summer I did a crowdfunding campaign on Indiegogo. Indiegogo is like Kickstarter for those that don't know, and I ended up raising $12,000 from 500 people in 45 countries, right? Now, $12,000 might not seem like a lot of money to some of you, but it's a lot of money if you're writing a book, right? That means I could hire an editor, a cover designer, pay for some marketing ideas. I saw Sumit on this call. Sumit was my designer. That was amazing, right? And so then I send this woman at Chronicle Books, the editor, the self-published book, Quarter Life Breakthrough, and it started to sell well. It sold almost 10,000 copies. And I was like, okay, I'm definitely gonna get a book deal now. And you know what she told me? She was like, this is amazing. We're still not gonna give you a book deal. I was like, oh man, you know, like my second break, gone. And the reason was because they had just published a similar book about career advice for millennials. But you know what she did do? She said, hey, I'm really impressed. You did the work. This is really good. I'm going to connect you with someone who's a literary agent. And that led to getting a book deal for a new version of the Quarter Life Breakthrough with Penguin Random House. But that book came out in 2016. So just think about it there. From the birth of this idea and the first iteration of it, which was a self-published book, 2013 to 2016, that's 3 years of work. I mean, I was doing other projects in between, obviously, to make a living, but like, that's a lot. So I just kind of like share that to just show you that the journey is long and you got this, and to think of this as much more of a journey, not a destination, right? And then I went back and I actually self-published my very next book, The Breakthrough Speaker, because it was for a very niche audience and I wanted to have control over it. So that's like a little bit of a 5-year, and then this was my newest book, which Mafe mentioned, which will be coming out next year, about friendship in the age of loneliness. And I ended up getting a book deal for that book. And so that timeline, if you just look at it from a book perspective, the idea was born in 2017. I had lost one of my dear friends, to one of my best friends in the whole world, to a brain tumor at the age of 32. And I was like, I got to write a book about his impact on my life and what friendship means. And I started it then. I didn't finish the book proposal, you know, because I took some time to think about it until 2019. The book proposal wasn't finished until then. We got the book deal right before the pandemic. I had to change the entire book because I was writing a book about in-person connection and hanging out with your friends and having dinner parties and going to places with people. Well, you can't do that during COVID-19, so I had to reimagine it. And I just submitted the manuscript a few weeks ago. So again, I share this to kind of show that it's ongoing, right? And I hope that this just makes you think that it's all possible, and is not about intimidation. Oh my God, it's going to take 2, 3, 4 years. It's like, it's going to take a while. Let's enjoy the ride and let's learn from it. Again, this shit takes time. Keep going. So a few lessons on writing a book during the pandemic. 1, don't wait for permission, right? I think all too often we're waiting for you know, the head of publishing, or Simon and Schuster, or Penguin Random House, or whoever, to like, you know, send us a DM being like, you know, we've been looking at your Instagram day in and day every day for the last 5 years, and we love you, you know, or that they're going to come to your house and finally be like, you know what, you're amazing, like we want you. Honestly, I just don't think that that's going to happen. So you don't need me to tell you this, but let today, or let yourself be your permission slip to make this happen. And whether you end up self-publishing or working with a publisher, frankly, you're going to have to write the damn book anyway. So let this be your permission slip to do it. I think people are waiting too often for like a degree, or I need to get some approval from someone to say I'm ready, or whatever. Enough. I don't think that that's the case. I think it's really remembering like you have a story, and especially now in this moment, this is historical moment of everything that's happened this year, right? And we're living through this collective turmoil and disease, and so much hurt and pain and sickness, but also potential and possibility and beauty and new beginnings, right? Like, you have a story. I know because you're on this call today that you have a story, and you're a writer. If you are writing something, if it's in a Moleskine journal, on a Medium post, on your website, on a Word document, on a Google Doc, and you're working towards something, you're a writer, right? You are a writer. Call yourself an author, right? Put it on your website, put it on your business card, put it on your LinkedIn, put it on your Instagram, author. If you have the title of your book or a working title, put author of my book is the best. Author of my book's going to change your life. Whatever the word, you know, like start. I just think that that's so important, because otherwise we're waiting for some moment that frankly never comes. I also think that the time to write your book is now. I really believe that, like, especially, you know, in publishing, in the speaking industry, these are like old school industries that frankly are not inclusive, right? They've been for too long. A majority of the people that have gotten book deals or gotten on big stages as thought leaders or whatever, frankly, look like older versions of me, right? Much older, old white men, basically. The good news is that's finally starting to change. But I think that means like, this is the moment to be like, this is the time to write your book is now, right? We need new voices. We need more voices, voices of color, more female voices, more underrepresented voices, more voices that are talking about issues that haven't been talked about before. So say the things that must be said. That would be like the other piece there is, if something is like, ooh, I don't know if people are ready for this. I don't know if people want to hear this. That's the book, right? If it makes people like a little uncomfortable, like I'm going to shake some shit up here. Like this might be a little bit uncomfortable. Like say that, right? Say the things that must be said, whatever your topic is, right? People don't want to hear something that's been said before. They don't want to hear something that sounds like what 300 people already said. They want to hear what you have to say and your new fresh take, right? What I was kind of coming at for my original book, Quarter Life Breakthrough, everyone was complaining about millennials, saying that they're lazy and me and entitled. And I was like, no, my generation's not entitled. They just want to make a difference in the world. They just care more about purpose than they do about money, right? I was going to say the things that needed to be said, and I want you to do the same. Get past this somebody already wrote my book thing, right? Let me tell you now, no matter what you're writing about, someone has written a book about a similar topic. That is just a fact of creative life, right? If you don't believe me, like go see how many books have been written about Abraham Lincoln. Go see how many books have been written about being a vegan cookbooks, right? Or how to meditate or how to do yoga, right? Hundreds, thousands, it doesn't matter. The point is nobody's written your book because you haven't written it yet, right? So that kind of mindset is just fear talking. It's like, well, somebody already wrote a book about design thinking for social innovation. We're good. Somebody already wrote a book about rethinking artificial intelligence. somebody already wrote a book about diversity and inclusion in the workplace. Like, of course, other people have written it, but they don't have your experience, your take, your ideas, your people that you're going to interview, the people that you're going to bring to life, right? So let's get past that very quickly. I'll say this for all the topics that I've written about, millennials and career change. There are a lot of books about career change, but nobody had my own journey or my story, right? There are a lot of books about public speaking and storytelling. Again, no one had done it in the way I had done it, right? There are a lot of books about friendship and connection, right? And loneliness. Who cares, right? So let's get past that. Number 3, write in your zone of genius, right? There's a great quote from Chris Anderson, who started TED. Your goal is not to be Winston Churchill or Nelson Mandela, it's to be you, right? And everyone on this call, all 165 people, have a unique writer zone of genius. And what do I mean by that? Right in the place where your personal story meets the body of work you've done, your experience, where, either a company that you started, the places you've worked, the expertise you have, the education you have, the research you've done, right? And the impact you're trying to have. If you can line that up, like, that's the beauty there. I think, like, that's the type of book. If you're just starting to write about something you don't know anything about, you can go for it, right? I'm not going to stop you. I think that's great. But I think you'll have more success if you're writing in a place where you really are playing in your zone of genius, where you're like, I have personal experience here. Like, I have a story here that relates to this topic. Wait, I've done this work a little bit, right? And it relates to the impact I want to have. It's just going to feel more authentic. It's going to be more powerful, more transformative, and you're going to connect with readers. A lot of people say, write what you know. I think that that's true. Obviously, you're not going to write about something you don't know anything about. But I also think you should write about what people care about, and write about, like, something that you care about that other people care about too, right? Because that's your reader, that's your audience, that's like who you're going to change. That's that impact circle right there, right? Like, if you don't think about the reader, you're just like, I'm writing something that, like, means a lot to me, and everyone's like, I don't care about it, right? So if you can line those up, something that's like, this is my story, and something, ooh, people really, people are stressed right now. People want to learn more about mental health because, they're pressed really thin, and they're struggling, and remote work is hard, and juggling all these tasks is really hard, and the news is so stressful. Okay, now you suddenly have a place where maybe your expertise and your story meets the impact you're trying to have. Number 4, sounds silly, but I think it's super important. Go outside, take a walk. People think of writing as like, I gotta stay hunched over on my laptop, 6 screens, 17 notebooks, like, I gotta be in it, right? Like, writing, like, it's gotta be so serious. And I think especially now in the pandemic, take a break. The best ideas, the best insights, the best connections, the best epiphanies come when you're not looking at the screen, frankly. And maybe you want to bring a little notebook along for your walk. That's great, but maybe go outside, take a walk, get some exercise, breathe, meditate, go for a run, whatever it is that you do to unwind, take a shower, whatever it is, those are going to be the places where you get those ideas. Do not think that you have to, a book actually doesn't usually come, the majority of it, and the good stuff, like the real idea and the real heart of the book. I bet you most authors would say it came like, oh, I had that idea in the shower, or I was taking a walk with my best friend. I was just sitting in the sun daydreaming, and then I was like, oh my God, there it is, right? So just remember to take those moments, and that, like, if nothing is coming off the page and it's 11 p.m. and you're sitting there just looking at the cursor blinking, get up from the computer, right? No one says you have to force yourself to sit there. Another great way to kind of get started is to interview people. And I think this means a lot of times people say, like, I'm stuck, or I don't know where to go, or where to go from here. Great solution. Either interview people that are potentially going to read your book to see what their pain points are, what they're struggling with, what questions they have, what they would be excited to read. And then most importantly, interview people that might be experts about your topic. Then you suddenly start to have all this content. This happened to me with my friendship book this summer with the pandemic. Remember, I said, oh, I had to like reimagine the book because suddenly I'm writing about in-person connection during COVID-19. I had to rethink all of these people, you know, coming together, and they were doing it on Zoom parties and you know, via apps and in all these creative ways. So I needed new material. So suddenly I had all these, you know, 50,000 words on the page. I suddenly was like, I got to go back and talk to people, right? Before I can write. And people will sometimes say, oh, I'm stuck, I don't know what to do. And say, go interview people. Because then what's going to happen is you have I talked to, you know, almost 50 different people about how's the pandemic affecting your friendships? What are you doing to stay in touch with people? What new rituals have you developed? How are you using Zoom? Is Zoom good? Does Zoom suck? Why does it suck? What other things are you using? And suddenly I have all of this new material. Now I have something to write again, right? So I think interviewing people is a great way. You're going to have to do it at any part in almost any book process. Is a great way to get new material. And it's also, meanwhile, a great way to have people that are going to help you market your book, right? Because now you're going to be able to reach out to those 20 or 30 people being like, hey, it's my book launch. Will you share the book with your email newsletter, with your followers on social media? You're in the book. Oh my gosh, right? So I think interviewing, this is a really important tool. Next up, very, very important. Excuse me. Break your book up into short, manageable assignments, right? It's very intimidating to think of like delivering a manuscript or writing 100 pages or 200-page book. But if you think about it as like a series of blog posts, right? It can actually be something that you like, okay, I got this, right? If it, for those of you that write on Medium or write blog posts, right? You're like, okay, I can knock out a 500 to 1,000 word piece like once a week, right? Or you can do 2 or 3 of those a week, maybe. And if you do that, like you get that momentum, it becomes less intimidating. So I always recommend that people break their book up into short, manageable assignments. You know, one of my favorite books about writing, I'll share it in the resources later, is Bird by Bird by Anne Lamott. Beautiful book. If you don't have it, highly recommend it. I'll share it in the link. And she talks about that she keeps on her writing desk a hollow 1-inch picture frame. It's like a picture frame without a picture in it. And whenever she sits down at her writing desk, which is every day, she's a professional writer, that's all she does. She holds up her 1-inch picture frame. Maybe she goes out to the window, looks outside, and she just starts writing about what she sees in the picture frame for 20 minutes. It seems silly, but it's just a short assignment, right? And then suddenly 20 minutes later, she's like, oh, I'm kind of writing about something related to a character in my book. I'm unstuck, right? Because she was just writing about something, a short little assignment, not related to anything. Oh my God, look at that beautiful plant. Oh my God, I need to get new, I'm out of groceries, like da-da-da. And then suddenly she's unstuck and she's writing again. Short, manageable assignments. Number 7, you'll write when money or your reputation is on the line. So this is kind of like that, like where the rubber meets the road thing. One of the great things about working with a publisher is you get an advance to write the book. Now, if you don't write the book, you don't get your money, right? So someone's like, hey, we're going to pay you $10,000 or $50,000, or if you're Michelle Obama, $17 million, right? To write your book. You got to write the book. And you'll probably write it because you want that check. But if you're self-publishing, when I did that Indiegogo campaign, I suddenly had 518 people that were like, where's my book? I gave you money, right? So I was like, oh, I better write this book, because now I have 500 people that are like, where's that thing, right? So that's a way of, like, what I call it is giving yourself an advance, because now you have a contractual obligation. Someone supports your Kickstarter, your GoFundMe, your Indiegogo for your book, right? And they're like, you know, they give you 25 bucks or 50 bucks, and you say, oh, I'll send you a book. You have to send them the book, right? And you probably say, oh, I'm going to send you the book in January, in July. That's going to tie you to that deadline. And another way of doing this, if you don't want to do a crowdfunding campaign, is to share with your community, right? To share on social media, to post on Facebook, to share if you have a newsletter. Hey, I'm writing a book. I'm writing a book about this. It's going to be out at this date. And then suddenly people are like, didn't you say 6 years ago that you were going to write a book? Right? And you better have something to share with them, because you said you were going to do it. It's like, you posted, I remember. And the funny thing happens is, because you shared it, you now have to be like, I have to deliver now. I talked about it. So I really encourage people to be like, you know, I think a lot of times people be like, I'm writing a book. I'm not going to tell anyone. Shh, keep it a secret. And you know what happens there? They never do the damn thing, because they haven't put themselves on the line. They're like, I'm writing a book, I'm writing a book, I'm writing a book. 17 years later, there's no book, right? So if you're really serious about it, you gotta share with folks that you're making it happen. You have to know what's present when you do your best writing and what's not present. So I call this coming up with your 3 writing musts and your 3 writing no's. So for example, some of my writing musts are, I have to write first thing in the morning. That's, for me, just the truth. Like, if I don't get good writing done after lunch, I'm tired. In the evening, I'm tired. It doesn't happen. So like, I know that one of the things is I have to write first thing in the morning. I know also one of my musts is that I can't really have a good productive day of writing if I don't get exercise before. So I have to exercise before I write, right? One of my no's is, I know that I'm not going to get any writing done if I'm also on social media, right? So I either need to have the willpower to not be on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, or Twitter or whatever, or I need to literally remove those programs for a period of time using a, you know, there's apps like Self-Control and little things that can help you block websites. But I know that for me, like, I don't get writing done if I'm on social media, because it's very easy to get distracted, and it's much more fun to scroll than it is to actually sit there and write. And I need a lot of focused attention for writing, because writing requires a lot of time and extended focused attention. So I just want to give folks a second here to brainstorm on their own. I think all of you have either a notebook or whatever in front of you, an iPad or the Notes app. So just think about for a minute or two, a few things, at least come up with one writing must and one writing no, something that must be present for you. Maybe it's like, you must be in your favorite, like must be outside in your favorite park, or maybe you must be at your special desk, or you must be listening to your favorite album, your favorite music, right? So just try to come up with at least one must and at least one no. If you want to come up with a couple more, that's great. So let's just take a minute or so for that. Okay, so I recommend thinking, like, doing a brainstorm maybe later in this week as well, just thinking more on this. I think this is super important. Writing is like a spiritual practice. It's an activity. It's a ritual, right? So thinking really deeply about what your writing ritual looks like, I think is super powerful. Most people that write on a regular basis have a practice. They have a ritual. And there's no, you know, people do whatever they want. Maybe they have some people are going to have a glass of wine before they write. Some people are going to go for a 5-mile run. Some people are going to drink 2 cups of coffee. Some people are going to have a kombucha, drink a beer, whatever. The point is, you have to know what works for you, right? Some people are going to smoke a joint. Some people are going to go do a Peloton workout. It doesn't matter. The point is, you know what your writing musts are. So think about that a little bit. Most importantly, and I'll end this with a little fun story, is find an accountability buddy, right? Find someone that you're that you feel like you can go through this process with. Like, writing is often thought of as a solitary act. No one that writes a book does it alone, right? I mentioned Sumit, who I saw is on the call. I couldn't have finished my book without a designer. I'm not a designer, right? I'm not a cover designer. I'm not probably a marketing expert, right? And even if you want to illustrate your own book, you're still gonna have to reach out to so many other people in the process to get feedback on ideas and hire an editor and all these things. So don't think you're walking through this alone. Find accountability. I think that that's so important. I love to share a story about being back when I was in San Francisco, not long after I had moved here, before I did my first book. I was biking home one night. Remember, I don't drive, I bike. And I was biking. I was like on my way home. I was in the Mission and I was biking to get some tacos, minding my own business in the bike lane. A guy bikes alongside me and he says, "My name's Bernat, I'm from Spain." I was like, I don't know who the hell this person is. I tried to keep biking away. He keeps biking alongside me. "My name's Bernat, I'm from Spain. I'm a UX UI designer, a user experience designer." I was like, "I don't know who you are. Stop talking to me." He keeps biking alongside me. "My name's Bernat. I'm from Spain. I'm a UX UI designer. I'm looking for a job here in the Bay Area. There's no jobs in Spain right now. Really brutal unemployment." I was like, "Oh, interesting. Barcelona, beautiful city. I visited once. My best friend used to live there. I love that place." And he's like, "Yeah, Barcelona's amazing. What are you working on right now? What's your story?" And I tell him, "Oh, I'm writing a book, self-publishing a book about millennials. They're trying to figure out their lives. They're really lost. They want meaningful work. I'm trying to help them." And he says, "Well, do you have a cover designer yet?" I said, "No." He's like, "Well, go home, check out my website. Maybe we can work together." I go home, I check out this guy Bernat's website. I was like, "Man, this guy's a really good designer. He was really good. He had done all of these, amazing things on his site. Um, it was pretty amazing." And so I post on Facebook that night. "Just met this guy Bernat while I was biking home tonight. He hails from Spain, from Barcelona. He's looking for a UX UI design job here in the Bay Area. If you know of anything, let him know." 5 minutes later, my buddy Yi, who I had met at Starting Block actually, comments on the Facebook thread, "Oh, Bernat should meet with my friend Mark. They're doing a mobile startup in Palo Alto. I think they don't have a lead designer yet. Maybe they can work together." A few weeks later, Bernat meets with the team. He gets hired to be the lead designer for this tiny mobile startup in Palo Alto. He gets a work visa to stay in the United States, which is a big deal. And he sends me a thank you note. And basically a couple years go by, we don't really talk much, right? And a couple years later, I get a text message from Bernat out of the blue: "Smiley, I'm taking you out to dinner, anywhere you want to go." I was like, "Sweet, awesome. I'd love to get taken out to dinner." So we go to Foreign Cinema, which is this really nice, delicious restaurant in San Francisco. We get a bottle of wine. I'm like, "What's going on? Why are you taking me out to dinner?" Turns out that the mobile startup he'd been working for had just been acquired by Yahoo for $80 million. And he's the 5th employee at the company. "You could definitely take me out to dinner." And he says to me, he's like, "Hey man, thank you. This wouldn't have happened if not for you." And I said to Bernat, "Nah, man, thank you. Because this guy talked to a random stranger in a city he didn't live in a country he wasn't from, on a bicycle. Like, who the hell does that?" So that's about making the ask, right? And putting yourself out there. And that's why we need to find accountability buddies, and we need to do this in community, right? You can't do this stuff alone. I want to, before we do this, I want to just give folks a chance to see if I can actually, we didn't have enough, they limit the cap on the breakout room. So let me see if I can throw folks in here. I'm going to run over a couple more slides, and then at the very end, I want to have folks connect, you have a chance to just connect with one other person, so that maybe that can be your accountability buddy, maybe not, but you're all here today. Maybe you can just find someone in your community or someone else you know that's writing a book to be your accountability buddy. Because I think that that's so important. I just wanted to share one or two more things before we wrap up here. If you're interested in kind of doing a real deep dive on working on your book over the course of 8 weeks, I'm going to run another version of Author Group, which will be January to February. This is for folks that are really kind of committed to writing a book, either self-published or published. We have awesome guest speakers like Amber Ray, Minda Hartz, Kat Velos. We are really, this is kind of like for a group of people that are trying to take their book to the next level. I want to make sure that folks, if they're interested and are doing a lot of writing or speaking or thought leadership, join the Women Speaker Initiative, which is a group. It's free, completely free to join. Mafe will put the link in the chat, and I'll send it out as well after. There's a Facebook group where folks share opportunities, resources, someone's looking for a speaker, just a way of kind of trying to change the publishing and the speaking industry. Here are some books that I recommend. Again, this will go out in the resources doc too, just from books about creativity, being an artist, sharing your story. Just there, and there are many more. This is just a few that that I love a lot, that have helped me on my kind of writing journey. Yeah, so, and if you want more, if you want more resources, just follow the links that Mafe sends out. And I'm gonna throw this one actually in the chat, because if you sign up here, I'll send you a bunch of stuff. Links, books, articles, podcasts, all that kind of stuff. Here's the link. Great. I want to give folks a chance to just meet with someone really quick. I know we're kind of coming to time, but for those of you that might not have access to getting another accountability buddy, now might be a good chance. So I'm going to throw you into breakout rooms. If you need to hop off, awesome. But if you're really like trying to meet with somebody, this is a great opportunity. Someone was asking where the Women Speaker Group link is. Let me just put that on. And I think Mafe is going to post these all in the chat too. That's the Facebook group. Great. Okay, so for those that can stay on, I'm going to throw you into breakout rooms for just a minute so you can just connect and just introduce yourself and maybe share like an email or a phone number, so that if you want to stay in touch, you already have someone that might be your accountability buddy. If you don't like them, if it doesn't work out, that's cool. It's all good. But just trying to give that little nudge there to just show you how simple it is to find an accountability buddy. For folks, a lot of folks I think probably need to leave. Lunch is over. Much love. Thank you for being here today.